Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm answering questions about OCD recovery. These are the questions that you left below my video. Ask a question about OCD. And if you haven't left a question and you would like me to answer a question, please leave it below that video. The first question I have is, this is part 2 by the way. If you haven't watched part 1, it's in the previous video. First question is, how do I do ERP if a single thought is bothering me for almost every second? So okay, this itself is the exposure. So out of the ERP, E is the exposure. So every second you already have exposures. So some people, for example, if a person comes to me and they're like, well, Ali, I don't have driving OCD because I'm not driving anymore. I'm just avoiding it entirely. Then they're not even doing exposure. They're doing nothing. So they have to start from the very beginning. You are already doing exposures, which is great. So now you need to do response prevention. So every second of the day, you get a chance to either respond to the thought or choose to disregard. When you disregard, it doesn't mean that the thought is going to magically go away and you will feel better. You will not feel better. But you're retraining your brain to view these thoughts differently. And if you disregard the first day, look at how many exposures, how many repetitions you get a chance to do to fix the brain, to fix how it's viewing these thoughts. You have a lot of exposures. So instead of looking at it as a negative, look at how fast you can recover if you just change what you're doing every second the thought comes in, you know? And if you want to be motivated throughout the day, try to actually keep count of how many times you gave in versus how many times you disregarded. And try to always one up yourself each day. That, okay, yesterday, say, I did good, say 200 times, did bad, 300 times. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, okay, so try to go up from there, So in just keeping count, just put like check marks on your phone or something like that. Doesn't You don't have to have this whole write up, right? But just check marks of, oh, did good or did bad, because the accountability is huge in OCD recovery. It really, really is. So you have to push through, because otherwise you will not recover, you know so you have to look at it as, I need to recover. In order to recover, I need to do this. I have the opportunity every second, so I need to take every second and actually use those opportunities. And I'm telling you, you're not, it feels like you're risking everything when you do this. You're not. I've done this for 10 years. I haven't had a single client have the fears actually come true. It doesn't happen. It just feels like it will happen. So just push through. And again, to the best of your ability, but even at 5% a day, each day one-upping yourself by 5%, in 20 days, you will knock it down to zero, you know? And even with the setbacks, it'll be 30 or 40 days, but you will still knock it down to zero. So it's just continuous little steps forward. Next question is, hi Ali, why does my OCD say it's not normal to OCD? It asks, why is this wrong to OCD? Why shouldn't I have OCD? Who said it's not right to OCD? When I'm not OCDing, the OCD says, why should that be classified as okay and healthy? So weird. I'm doing really well with my puro recovery through your amazing video. So thank you. What really helps is the anxiety curve you state and the walking parallel, many things. I'm happy to help. And you try to look at it that, first of all, the fact that it's going from puro to worrying OCDing, as you say about OCD, right? That's very, very common. I see this a lot. That happens, not always happens towards the end of the recovery, but it happens more often towards the end of the recovery. So just look at it as noise. You already looked at it as noise when you were worried about your puro themes, right? This is still a puro theme. This is not any different. So just look at it the exact same way that, okay, so that was OCD and this is OCD, and it can tell you whatever it wants. Imagine that if I say this analogy to clients a lot, is, imagine if you bought a parrot and the parrot already learned some weird things that it says every once in a while. And the parrot is next to you and it's just like, chirping away and just saying things. And what can you do? It's just, all right, it's already learned it. So you just don't engage, and eventually, hopefully, it will forget. So just try to look at it that way. And I promise you, if you do this, if you don't engage it, it will stop sending them to you. So look at it that it's all OCD, it's all puro. And again, when you stop addressing this, a lot of the times too, people can have OCD come in dreams towards the end of the recovery. In the beginning too, but towards the end, they see it more often. Again, because you're not actually paying attention to it in real life, so it can come in a dream as well. Just to, I don't know if a lot of people ask me this, so I just wanted to bring it up. Next question is, you talk about 5% a day, but how do you do that with avoidance? If, say, the issue is getting rid of OCD, is it better to get rid of a little bit each day or all at once and deal with the anxiety panic? Or reverse contamination, avoiding touching things in shops, having to buy anything you've touched because of because of contaminating it. You can't do 5% of that because touching, it's all or nothing. Or can you? Yes, you can. So with the avoidance, try to say, for example, okay, so touching versus not touching, right? Well, you can touch it with your full hand, or maybe you can touch it with just like your pinky finger, or maybe you can touch it with your elbow or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it not actually touching it directly, but kind of like just a little bit to just get a little anxiety, but not all the way up. Um, in the question of doing everything or handling one specific top or one specific area, because that comes up a lot as well. Try to do 5% for each situation. So say you go somewhere, I can't touch this. Okay, touch it with, like, again, your elbow or something, right? I can't touch this, touch that with your elbow, and just like this, like, keep going with everything, but just a little bit more. And then next time you're in a similar situation, say next time you're at the shop, you'll be able to do more and more, and that's how you go. Next question is, why does not confessing a sin from past mistakes make me feel like I'm hiding some terrible secret about myself that could ruin my relationships with people that I love? So, okay, so just like I said it, right? Like, just say, yes, I am hiding a terrible, terrible secret. And it just kind of, don't take whatever OCD tells you seriously. It tells you this because you have OCD. OCD comes with guilt all the time. For most themes, it comes with guilt. The only time it doesn't come with guilt is if a theme is such that it doesn't have a guilt component in it. So, but most themes in one way or another do. So whenever it gives you these kind of um, thoughts that are parallel to so there's a trigger, and then there's these kind of secondary symptom thoughts of guilt and shame, and I'm a bad person. All of this is very common. Just disregard whatever. Yeah, it's happening to me and a million other people, so what? Next question is, I try to tell myself that if a memory is real, I wouldn't even be questioning whether it's OCD or not. That is true. If I'm being logical, I can see that surely if it's a real memory, I'll know it. Would you agree with this approach when false memories come in? Of course, I agree with this, but as an approach, it's not a good idea, because this can become a constant way you reassure yourself, and it will become a compulsion. I would say that compulsions are tricky, because ideally, yes, you want to do zero compulsions. But sometimes when you're in a situation of 10 out of 10 OCD, you get a choice basically to either do one compulsion just to knock down the anxiety a little bit, where you can handle the rest of the day without doing compulsions, right? Or say you can't avoid doing compulsions, but you delay. So the doctors don't really talk about this a lot, but at the end of the day, if you look back, say at the last time you've analyzed something, right? The person's asking about puro stuff, right? So if you just say something to yourself once, which is reassurance, but that will stop you from ruminating all day, meaning causing damage to yourself, to your brain, by ruminating all day, right? If that will stop you from doing that, then that's the better way to go, at least for now. And maybe, if you just repeat this once a day or say twice a day for yourself, and that's it, but you need to have a cutoff where I can't repeat this more than this amount of time. And also having, like, looking forward that you will have to reduce that to 0 and not have to repeat that phrase to yourself, so this is kind of a stepping stone, just like delaying is a stepping stone, right? But for now, I think if it keeps you from ruminating all day, I think it's okay. Next question is how to deal with intrusive thoughts and puro rumination and racing thoughts. Ali, why are why are you not answering any question? I must have missed it yeah, I'm assuming you mean in the last video. I just must have missed it. Nothing personal. Yeah, just like I was saying, right, is let the racing thoughts, you can't do anything about it. So let them race, I mean, it's not even let them, they are going to do it either way, right? So you have to just say, okay, well, this is out of my control. How much you're ruminating is not out of your control. So try to at least delay that. I will ruminate, say, at this time. So if this is bothering me now, but I will wait 3 hours before I actively start to ruminate. At least that, right? As you get stronger, you will be able to say, okay, I will think about this in a week, But right now, if you're not that strong, at least delay it a few hours and then reevaluate. Do we really need to do that, You have to stand up for yourself, because the more you pay attention to OCD thoughts, the more these OCD thoughts will grow. So you really don't have another option other than to stand up and fight, Next question is it normal to have migraine or nausea while having OCD during ERP? Yeah, of course, people have all kinds of bodily sensations, right, and discomforts, because it's extreme anxiety, right? So it's not it's caused by anxiety. So it's caused by OCD. OCD gives you anxiety, and anxiety causes these kind of situations in the body. So that's very, very common. A lot of people have again, migraines, nausea, people throw up, people have uh, like problems, with, you know, with digestion, let's say, either way, they can have trouble with it, or it's, just like loose stools, like I don't want to really kind of to discuss it, maybe that makes people uncomfortable, right? But it's all very, very common. It just has to do with the level of anxiety. It's not different than having that depersonalization where you feel like almost, the world is not real, not like it's not real around you, but you feel removed from the world. So all of it is very, very common, just have to look at it that as the anxiety goes down, this will go down with it. It's a symptom. It has nothing to do with anything. And it's not anything you can really fix because it's caused by anxiety. So you need to get rid of the source of the anxiety. The anxiety will go down and these things will get fixed. Next question is, I do ERP, but when accidental ERP happens, it's just too much. 9 out of 10 or maybe 10 out of 10 pain and fear. How do I go about or deal with it? Okay, this is actually a very good question, very important. So try to see, even though it's accidental ERP, does it happen around certain people? Does it happen around certain places? And if you notice any kind of a pattern where, yeah, it happens usually around this situation, then work on that and do more on purpose exposures with that situation. So you reduce it. Or even if it's at certain part of the day, right? So say in the morning, as soon as you wake up, it hits. You need to have a plan for yourself. So as soon as I wake up, OCD is going to hit. I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to start doing things, so you have a clear plan of action and you're following that plan of action. So just planning ahead, and then also not putting yourself in stressful situations more than you have to. If you are living in a stressful period in your life, then try to space out stress evenly, so it's not all stress is dumped in one day, but then the next day you don't have much to do, and that's when OCD will hit, right? So try to even it out where the brain is used to being stressed and at the same time busy. So that's a good idea. Next question is, my theme is HOCD. Now, I had it for 7 months, but I can tell you I'm recovering. It's been on and off. It's frustrating. I never wanted it. I want to be free. I do ERP, refuse reaction, ignore thoughts and compulsions, but why does it not go away? If you've been doing this, you say you had it for 7 months. If you've been doing the recovery work, serious recovery work, not like one step forward, one step back, not moving at all, meaning, but actual serious work, then usually when people ask me this question and they have been doing work, there must be an area where you are not doing the work. So you might be doing it in all of the areas except for this one thing where I usually give in. Or maybe you worry that you will never recover, and that's what brings the anxiety, right? So you have to see in what area are you in fear? What are you doing with that fear? Are you ruminating? Are you, you know what I mean? And reduce that, because usually, I mean, when I talk to clients and they're in this situation, we kind of examine where else are there, do they live their life in fear? And we usually, well, we pretty much always find that area, you know? So you just have to really examine, well, where am I going wrong? You know, one question I always try to ask clients is, okay, because a lot of the times, you know, when I talk to clients, they're like, oh, everything is good, I'm recovering and all of this kind of stuff. And I ask them, well, what is not going well? You know, because it's all good that you're doing better, but we need to address the areas that are not good to fix those to speed up the recovery further. How long does it take for the parachute to open? Try not to chase the feeling. The parachute will open when it opens. I think maybe that is just by that question, I can kind of tell that maybe you are looking back, kind of you are propelling yourself forward, right? Like you're moving forward, you're making the step forward, but at the same time, you kind of look back and say, well, if it's still here, what does that really mean? You know, and you should not be doing that. So it will happen when it happens. I'm refusing reaction. That kind of has to be how you are addressing these thoughts. Realistically, of solid work in about 6 months, you know, that's pretty much what I see all the time. But again, it's 6 months when you are steadily moving forward. If you are kind of one step forward, one step back, there is some allowance for that in the first month, but you have to get it together and do more recovery work. So no looking back at it. It will happen when it happens. Just moving on, and it's a choice, right? I'm choosing to move on even though my feelings are all over the place. It doesn't really matter. For now, I'm choosing action. I'm not choosing to look at my feelings and not examining, right? Not testing to see how I feel now. Next question is, hi Ali, I'm a new listener. Yes, this is, I was gonna say that. I don't remember if I said that in the ask a question about OCD video, but please put in a comment if you are a new listener, because I mean, I have I think about 500 videos on this channel, over 500 now. And I don't know how much you've listened to it, how much background you have in OCD recovery. So if I need to kind of go through the whole thing of how OCD works, then let me know and I will do that. Yeah, so hi, I'm a new listener. I am in ERP therapy, good, and I feel it has helped me greatly. However, I am on my hardest theme, and every time I try to do exposures, I end up focusing on my anxiety and ruminating. The anxiety is so overwhelming, and I have recurring panic attacks for days after doing my exposures and trying to resist the compulsion. How can I accept the anxiety that comes with resisting the compulsion when it's so debilitating? Well, I don't think your ERP is, try to scale it down, you know, because it's really, that's kind of just like going through OCD, right? It's like you're doing exposure, scare yourself, and then ruminate for days, making yourself worse, right? So you're doing the exposure, but you're not doing the response prevention. Usually, I mean, not usually, all the time, this happens when you basically you've taken a bigger bite than you can chew, you know. So try to slow down on, not slow down, reduce the level of the intensity of the exposures, I would say by half. So it's doable, you know. It's because you're not right now moving forward that much, right? I mean, I'm sure you are, but at the same time, it's like if you are spending a few days afterwards ruminating, then that's not good. You know, you have to take as much exposure as you can handle while at the same time doing the response prevention. So the response prevention is the most important part. Everybody who has OCD is doing exposures, unless they're, majorly avoiding, right? But most people who have OCD do exposures. It's the response prevention that they're not doing. And if you're ruminating for days, then you're not doing response prevention either. So you have to do it in a way that you are doing response prevention. Next question is how to overcome puro and how to stop the brain from registering things related uh, to the obsessions and not fear the thoughts and body symptoms. So try to do exposures for all those things. Well, I have 500 videos on how to overcome OCD. So if you ask in your question how to overcome puro, um, but in term, because there's a lot of intricacies, I can just respond in one question. But the more you do exposures on the things that the brain is registering, so specific triggers and things like that. So I would say make a list of all the things that are triggering you and do exposures on them. Again, in the way, just like I was saying in the previous questions, in the way that you can handle doing the response prevention. So you're exposed to the trigger, you refuse reaction, and do this over and over again. You need a lot of repetitions. Again, with clients, usually I ask for at least 10 repetitions for each thing per day. You need that many repetitions. If you're doing something once a day, that's not nearly enough. That's not gonna help you. I mean, it will help you, but it will not help you to the extent that you need to overpower the brain and to retrain your brain. If you were kind of fresh with this theme, yes, but because there have been so many wrong repetitions, we really need to turn it around. So you need a lot of them. So again, making the list. I've had OCD for more than 5 years, but I've been doing recovery this year, learning more about OCD. I noticed that my mother and grandmother have many OCD traits. They have never talked about it or accepted it. Whenever I am around my mother, I feel uneasy. Do you think my mom's OCD, cleaning OCD, checking OCD can affect my own journey? I think it can, but you really don't have an option. You have to. I mean, of course, it is up to you, but if this is the only issue, it wouldn't make sense for you not to spend time with your mom, or your grandma, right? It's you need to uh, you need to live life as you would live it if you didn't have OCD already. They are on their journey, you are on your journey. So if they say something, you have to kind of look at it that they have OCD and that is why they're saying it, right? About like what you said about the themes, the cleaning, the checking, and try for them to talk them into doing at least a little bit of exposures. You don't have to call it OCD. You don't have to call it exposures if they're not okay accepting it. But just, okay, you know what, let's just try not checking. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens, right? So kind of pushing them in that direction if you can. If they're not open to it, then it is their journey. Try to imagine, and this is good advice for anybody with OCD and just for anybody in general, that try to imagine that you have a bubble around you and nothing can come through the bubble. No negative emotions. So anything that's happening outside the bubble, somebody's saying something to you that you don't like, somebody's doing something that you don't like, it's outside your bubble. You're okay. You're safe. You control you. You can't control them. You can control you. And you're inside the bubble and everything is okay. And just try to keep that in mind all the time when somebody's saying something negative to you or just being negative in any way. It seems very simplistic, but it really does help. What's the difference between avoidance and eliminating your triggers? Do I have to eliminate the things that make me do compulsions? So avoidance is if you're doing something out of fear. So I'm afraid to drive, so I'm not going to drive. You know what I mean? That's avoidance. But eliminating triggers is driving while having the fear to the point where you're driving all the time, so the fear goes away because you're clearly not buying it. That's the difference. So in one situation, you're coming from a position of power and running away. In the other situation, you're facing the situation head on and saying, I'm not buying this anymore. I think I've done enough. I think I am done. I'm not reacting to this anymore. Next question is, can anxiety be interpreted in your mind as excitement? Yes, it can, because the two centers are closely connected. Do not Google anything about this, because the more you Google, the more questions you're going to have. I'm not saying it because there's some hidden information. I'm just saying, Google is frequently the source of problems. So don't start Googling. Just let it go. I'm telling you, this is common. And also, OCD can make you feel any kind of emotion because OCD is in control of your emotions. This has bothered me for a while. When I think of something and I'm hit with what I hope is anxiety, but my mind tells me that I'm excited, it kills me. Just look at it again, like I was saying with the example, with the analogy with the parrot. My parrot is talking again, it's telling me things again, so what? Don't take it. Your mind doesn't even know what the thought is, so it can't give you any new hidden secret information that you're not aware of. It can't do that. It doesn't have that power. It's just giving you what you gave it. You said, this is scary for me because I'm fear that what if. So it just brings it up again with automatic fear. If you said, I am very scared of a red balloon, it will bring it up again with automatic fear. It doesn't care what the thought is. It really doesn't. It's just looking to you what you're reacting to. And the more you react to this, the more it sends it to you. That's the last question for today. I have about a million more questions, and I will make it a point this month to answer them all. So I will be back with more answers tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I do daily videos on all things OCD. If you would like to do the recovery program with me, all the information is on youhaveocd.com, and you can sign up from there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.